A warm and pincery welcome to everyone here at Wildscreen today, and by me and by my small friends you are about to see in the next 20 minutes. Let's start from the beginning, not too much, but how to explain my passion. My passion comes from when I was a child, and I started photographing, and I started chasing all these small creatures in the world made of tenacious hands, the army hands that roam and crawl into the forest in search for food. A world of spiny little giant knights of the forest, like this giant beetle from Bornean forest. A world of alien-like animals, like the whip scorpion from the Amazon forest. All these portraits began in my mind and started going on my photography as well. Snail-eating snakes from Borneo, or even fishes that live outside of the water. Was amazing to see them in the books, and was amazing to see them and photograph them in the world. But this is a world that can be seen and witnessed and photographed even close to our home. This snail is a carnivorous snail I witnessed and photographed close to my home, just a few kilometers from my hometown. And it's a unique animal, a unique, perfect piece of a mosaic that built our nature. And I started also to increase my knowledge, study, and I discovered mimicry. That's another stunning thing to be seen in this world. We have mimic animals, big ones, but we also have many mimic animals like this katydid. You can see it, this is new, here, for example. Or this incredible, amazing, bird-dropping mimic spider. That it's not only him itself a mimic, it's this one, okay? He also built its web and its whole praise to increase the appearance of the bird dropping, no? So it's very useful. But if it wasn't enough, it also smells like bird dropping. So it's very useful to let the bigger predator to escape, not to see him, but also to attract his prey. So it's very stunning behavior, stunning shape, stunning color. And for example, this spider, this jumping spider right below, that is very close to a ant, is a mimic of ant. All these portraits are something that amazed me. So they portray animals that are stunning. But I started to think that it was not enough to show the beauty of these animals. So I started working on the way they live inside their environment. So I started to do wide-angle macro photography to show the animal inside this environment. So like this horned adder in the Namib desert, or the double life of the crab, the freshwater crab that lives in the Italian streams. And not only, as you can see in the first image I show you, in Rome ruins as well. So one image to tell something about the ecology of an animal and of an environment, like this lava lizard living in the Paracas coastal desert that feeds on the necrophagus insect that lives inside the carcasses of the sea lions that comes from the sea. Wow! In a single image. Yes, it can be possible, but something's flicking in my mind. And yes, these are beautiful images. Maybe sometimes they can be put in some awards, prize-winning, but it's not enough to show the importance of research, conservation, the stories of this animal. This is a spider that has been assessed just a few days ago as endangered and it will be listed on a red list, the IUCN red list, very soon, in the next weeks. And this image show the habitat, the high screes of the Alpine Western Alps where it lives, it only lives there. But yeah, it was not enough. So I started to mix all these techniques and much more to build stories. Because if you show someone this wasp, it's a jewel wasp, is its common name, but jewel wasp is nice, okay, but tomorrow the people will have probably forgotten it. So, but if you start telling people that this wasp needs for her spawn a prey, a large one, that she cannot just paralyze and carry away flying like other wasps do, but she stings this cockroach in a very precise, very accurate place in the central nervous system, and just obliterate the instinct of the wasp, of the cockroach to escape. Perfectly healthy, but unable to escape, like a zombie, like a golem. So it can carry it along like a dog on a leash by these antennae while walking. So it's very useful. And then something clicks on the mind of the people because it's a story you told them. So the story remains there. If you add something like, okay, then the larva will drink the blood of the cockroach like a vampire. Yeah, the horror story is better even, but I don't normally do that too much. Building stories is not something to take lightly. I started to draw my stories even before going on the field or while being there after seeing the location. This is my high skill drawings from the cave Borneo work. These are some of my images from that work. And a work about life inside the caves. Caves have plenty of lives inside. But this life needs energy from the outside. So each night, many bats, a rope-like stream of bats go outside of this cave in millions. There are 4 million bats comes outside of this cave in search for food. And they will bring back to the cave in numbers this energy, the insect they hate. And they go inside the cave where millions of cockroaches and other smaller creatures are waiting for their food. And they're waiting for example, for the guano that the bats will release from the ceiling to the ground. But they are very patient animals. The cockroaches can be very patient. They nibble some guano, but they are waiting for something more. They are waiting for something more juicy. The pups, that is a horror story, I must admit. It's an ecological web, you know. It's something that this energy will flow from the outside to the inside. And the cockroaches are very patient. They will start to hit and clean the things up. And it's very important to keep life going on inside this. This is, for example, nerdy thing. These are endemic from just Gomanton caves. It's a beetle endemic from just that cave. And also, cave swift also can be eaten by all the scavengers. But when you have scavengers and when you have smaller prey, you also have predators as well. So outside of the cave, we have buttocks that hunt for bats. And no old bats will return back to bring the energy inside the cave, of course. But they will give some energy to the buttock, of course. And also inside, there are plenty of predators. These are great centipedes, giant cave centipedes that going around. It was very hard to shot this image because I had to squeeze inside the crevice to do that, but it was worth that because it's nice to depict all the aspects of the ecology of the place. Sorry for my bad English. So I started to do something more. Natural history wasn't enough to me. It was nice, I used it, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to do more for these animals. So I started to work on conservation photography, to build stories about conservation photography. So I had the chance to see and photograph and document the life of the problems of a very, I call it the panda of spiders. It's a giant desertus wall spiders. It only lives in a small valley, in a small island of the Madeira archipelago. And this spider is the biggest wall spider in the world. But it's limited there. It's this one, of course, in a Funchal museum in Madeira. And this is one of, if you want to for a comparison, this is probably the biggest spider we could have here in Europe. So it's very big, this one. I had the chance to visit the island. I have the chance to visit this amazing moon-like landscape. And finally, I reached my valley, the Castañera Valley. And it was like, you remember Jurassic Park, when the paleontologist first sees his first dinosaur, and he's like, like this, because it was amazing after some turnstoning and looking to find my first massive female, perfectly healthy Madeiran desertas wolf spider. But it was also sad because I perceived its problem. The problem is that these spiders need a retreat during the midday, during the hottest hours of the day. So these are under stones. It's a stony area, but the stony area is being covered by this herb. We introduced that herb as human, and this herb is from Mediterranean, and is covering the retreat, the hides for the spiders. So it's incredible how green and beautiful the valley can be when you see from the top, and how sad you perceive that, and how bad the green appearance is when you perceive that. So luckily enough, 2 years ago, this spider was put as critically endangered, just like the panda, in the red list IUCN. Thanks to the work of Pedro Cardoso, the arachnologist, the Portuguese arachnologist who worked there. Thanks to some of my images for the assessment, to Bristol Zoo gardens that are now managing to breed this animal in captivity. And this is a very important thing, because yesterday David Attenborough said breeding in captivity is worth if you have the habitats. Yes, it can be done. In this case, the habitat can be restored. So, but we have to keep some population in the captivity just to increase the reintroduction in the future of this spider. There are very, very few left in this valley. Then something more clicked at me. I like to work with researchers because I was one. I've been in the lab, I've been in the field. I make some frogs puke to retrieve their stomach content. I do the dirty things, so I know how hard is their work. So I know that it was worth to follow the researchers not only in publication, in papers, but also in their lab, like I did with Vance Vredenburg, one professor from San Francisco State University that is working and struggling to understand why the chytrid fungus is killing all the amphibians in the world. He's one of my personal heroes. He's a friend also now, but he's also one of my personal heroes. This is one of the nice species he's struggling to defend, to protect, to know why they are disappearing. And there's another friend of mine that I also follow in the field. So the stories of the lab are the stories in the field as well. This is Alessandro Catenazzi, a professor from the Illinois State University. We share the same passion for amphibians, Peru, and cockad munching and chewing, because I followed him in the steep slopes of the Andes, very, very hard to walk and look around. We've been there during the day to follow his data recollecting and stuff like this, during the night, where I even sometimes put away my camera to help him to retrieve his data, because sometimes my research side push it on and okay, that's the time to help him. He is now swabbing the frog. The swabbing is the data collecting to know if these frogs have or no the chytrid fungus infestation. In this valley where we worked, we have 15 species wiped out from the earth forever. 15 species disappeared for the chytrid fungus now in the last 10 years. So he's working to understand why such beautiful, unique animals like this frog, this is not a colorful frog, but it only lives above 3,000 meters above sea level in the Andes. And we had the sad things to see them dead in the same place. And another one, this one is a very sad image that I put on my stories about chytrid fungus, because it's a very sad one. It's a heart-stricken frog. I photographed while she was dying. And even sadder, she had her eggs in the pouch. So it was a marsupial frog. So it's a very sad thing. When the chytrid fungus strike, it kills like for an air stroke, because the frog cannot breathe anymore through the skin, so it dies for a head stroke. Luckily enough, there is still hope. I like to put some hope in the end of the story, of course, where when I have to talk about this thing. And we find, when Alessandro finds new species, each year it goes there. This is a new Pristimantis species that has no name. This is one we found together the same night, and I wasn't lucky. I passed it, I didn't see it, and a few meters away it was Alessandro, and he found it. So not very good sighted. But it was amazing to see that this valley can produce and can give us more species, more hope. And this is my symbol of hope about this story, because this is a species of frog that was believed to be extinct since 10 years in this valley. And we found one male after 2 hours looking in a very remote stream in this valley. So it was very, very happy. We slept just 2 hours that night, but I didn't care, because it was so happy to see such beautiful frog still alive in this valley. We are almost at the end of my presentation. I hope it was fast enough. Thank you, Ross. The last question is, how in this world do you use your images? Of course, I use on the social networks. Of course, I use them for magazine as well. The classic things. I like them, and I do this. But I also wanted to reach the people directly with my images. And I tried to manage, since 10 years, I hide it and manage a scientific exhibition inside museums in Italy. One of them is Predatori del Microcosmo. I pronounce it improperly in Italian. It's Predators of the Undergrowth. We have the stories in the panels. Because I'm doing this with a colleague of mine, Francesco Tomasinelli. And also some live animals inside well-set vivaria with their environment reproduced inside. These are normally lab animals, conservation breeding animals that some researchers give us to show to the people. And this is a very powerful thing, because we can share the fluorescence of scorpion to the people. They can just witness the fluorescence of the scorpions, for example. Conservation issues. They can touch models, giant models of these animals. We can have, elephants big like dragonflies. But the most important thing is that we reach people. We reach people with the stories, with the images, and with the live animals as well, like in this case. And you see, even the parents are very. So it's not only about the children. Sometimes people say, I will come. I have some children, so I will come. No, it's also for the adult one. The adult one, yes, are compromised. We all here in this room we are compromised. We have our idea. It's very hard to change our minds. But I change some minds sometimes. It's fine. It's really fine. I always say, I don't want to make all the people love this animal, but I struggle for them, to have from them the respect for these animals. So in the end, I also fell in television. So I reach about 1.5 to 2 million people each day with my TV program. This is less direct compared to the exhibition, but it's fine, because I work I present documentaries. I talk about environmental issues. I don't talk too much about photography in that program, because I think that photography is not a TV thing. So it's I choose that. I'm not that one. Neither that, of course. So I don't like the TV side of making nature horrible, aggressive. I don't want to be the one that exploits the nature. In our program, I try to be him. Not him. It's an endangered species. It is better not to be him in that moment, unfortunately. I shouldn't explain why I try to be him. No, I think no. There's no need. So this is my pre-last slide, because in the end, what I'm trying to do with my stories, building my stories, I'm trying to do the same thing that this mother Fenra spider is doing with the spiderlings, building a web around this smaller creature, a web of knowledge and respect and love, maybe, to make people have the awareness about how important they are, just because they are, first, and second, because they keep us alive on this planet, this wonderful planet. Thank you, everyone.